The idea of running a cult is something that everyone loves to think of. Don't lie to yourself. You want to be a god. But being a god isn't so easy. You have to manage followers, you have to treat them well before they sacrifice you, and you have to ask yourself, can you beat Cult of the Lamb without any upgrades? This starts off great. I'm the last of my kind, and I'm about to be murdered because a prophecy says so. Little do they know, they found that prophecy on a 4chan post. So I highly doubt it's real. My suspicions were confirmed when I didn't die. This tall, dark, and handsome god being didn't want me to die. He kept me alive, and told me to start a cult in his name. Too bad I can't actually remember his name. He gave me his crown and resurrected me. It was time to get my revenge. I killed those who gooned around my dead body really quick. What else did you think that black ooze was? I got a grand total of 1 coin for my first ever chest. I think it would have been less insulting if I had gotten none. I think I'm just killing animals of the forest. I'm not even sure if they're hostile. Maybe I, the future cult leader, am the bad guy. Before I let that moral thought convince me to be better, I escaped the dungeon. I had to save this chicken from being executed. Kinda wish I could have killed him myself and chewed on his bones. Pretty sure I sent him to hell. I told the chicken back at home, yes, my home is hell, that I would accept him, but only if he changed himself to my liking. I made him a blue fox with a humorous name. Told him to work in the mines. I did some mining and ore crafting, and I made some definitely safe to eat food that doesn't have any cyanide. Back in the real game this time, I got my first weapon. I began my slaughter on the enemy cultists, as any good cult leader would. Got a new blueprint, it's not an upgrade. A path has no use in combat. The world went red and shaky as I fought my schizophrenic hallucinations. Leshy, that's the name of the forest god, spoke to me about how weak I was. I fought my first, but far from last, boss. This boss was basically one of those grass worms but bigger. He was weaker than my body when my own immune system attacks me. I sent him to hell as well. He shall serve me now. I built a shrine to my greatness. The shrine allowed me to get building upgrades, which I allow as they don't help me with combat in any way whatsoever, I think. I built my first and last temple, moved it, and made the biggest mistake so far. I held a sermon, which allowed me to upgrade my weapons, but I didn't want that, and the menu wouldn't let me leave. I caved and upgraded my heart capacity, and therefore failed the challenge. This video has now shifted from a no upgrades to minimal upgrades challenge. Back in the dungeon, I picked up my preferred weapon, and an old man in the woods gave me a gift. I tried to shoot him. I had to walk by the tarot card man, found yet another sacrificial lamb, pun absolutely intended. He's in the nether realm now. Leshy spoke to me again. He then sent me some of his friends to kill. What a nice guy. I got my first ancient tablet, which allowed me to rule my cult even better. I picked up a tarot card, not thinking it would be added to my inventory, and instead I would simply unlock it. The tarot card guy finally made me choose one. I chose the temporary health, and never spoke to him again. The next boss is like one of those red forest worms that jump around, but this one has the power of fireballs on his side. He was weak, and he died weakly. Mr. Dark and Handsome spoke to me. I'm not mentioning each time I'm home unless it's relevant. I used my rune to allow my cult to burn things. It doesn't help my combat. It's still not an upgrade. I picked up my third and final tarot card and realized that the effect had applied to me. I stood in awe at my stupidity and pressed onward without ever getting another tarot card. Leshy brought his friends to talk bad about me like I wasn't there, which is very inconsiderate. They left some table scraps for me. The third boss of the Dark Woods was like one of those burrowing spike worms. Why are a lot of the enemies worm-based? The worst part of the fight was when he burrowed and I couldn't hurt him. He managed to almost kill me, but almost was not enough. I still toppled him like I will his whole family. Leshy said we should end this, and I couldn't agree more. You'd think he'd send better enemies my way so he could stop me from getting close to him. Even though he didn't, I still managed to lose some health. Leshy still stops to talk to me like I care or can even respond. He sent slightly tougher enemies. They didn't stop me much. A bunch of cultists sacrificed themselves to Leshy, which seems violent for a kid's game. You'll never guess it, but he was a worm. Leshy was a tough bastard. Basically had the ability of the previous 3 bosses and could summon woodland worms to fight alongside him. The Ring of Spikes move was without a doubt my least favorite. You have to time your dodge really well to get through it without being hurt. Leshy was on a quarter health when he spike ringed me and I died for the first time. Well, the second if you include the beginning sacrifice. On the second round, Leshy wasn't so lucky. He may have been the toughest boss yet, but the toughest was yet to come. And as such, that made him feel weak, and he died from his own insecurities and the knife in my hand. Thought about using the Heretic Heart, but decided against it as it seemed too much like a combat upgrade. I gave my shrine a nice new coat of paint. Name my cult the Cult of Sillyism. I'm now an anal, no wonder there's a red tin here. While the last area had a lot of worms, this area is frog-based, and I hate frogs. I'm a frogist. I was introduced to a mechanic where I had to kill each enemy in a room in a certain order, which is both neat and also incredibly annoying. There's also skeletons, making this game even more like Minecraft. The truth is, every game is a variation of Minecraft, a mod, if you will. I now have to deal with Hecate talking my ear off. He made one of my followers a little hungry. Sorry to whichever subscriber just had their stomach growl. You wouldn't believe it, but the bosses here are also frog-based. Boss number 1 is simple. He lays eggs, he spits fire, he jumps at me. Just avoid everything he does, and make sure he doesn't land on my skull, crushing it within seconds, and I'll be fine. The hardest part was managing to slowly whittle at his health with my dagger without taking any damage. It's hard to hit him since one of his main attacks is him jumping out of my reach. Eventually, I ended his slimy suffering. I met some shroom people. Are the trees related to them at all, or is it like if we as humans saw a tree made of skin? The 3 idiots I have to kill were all in one place, yet they didn't kill me. They also didn't use that force grab during any of the fights. I think they should, it would make their job easier. I bowed to them just to see what would happen. My followers resented me, but I couldn't care less about their opinions. The second boss was less frog-based and more bird-based, but I can tell he's still slimy. He's got some basic moves. Fly toward me and hurt me by hurling the mass of his body against my frail body, birth children out of his mouth, don't ask, and a drive-by. The worst thing by far in this fight was fighting off the hordes of kids, all coming to rip my limbs off for their own entertainment. The boss eventually body slammed me so hard it sent me into a coma. The second time around, I got trapped in a room where an upgrade was forced upon me. Even worse, I was forced to use it. I failed this challenge so much, I wonder why I don't just quit the challenge. Boss 2, attempt 2. Let me tell you, he was just as annoying the second time around. But as annoying as he is, I still killed him, and he fell to my blade. I held another sermon to see if it would up the faith of my followers. It did, but it forced yet another upgrade on me. I literally don't know what I was thinking. Hecate made more of my followers hungry. Sorry, guys. The next boss was a giant frog that could bomb me, Osama bin Froggin. He was so easy that I beat him on the first try. I found Snake Man. Probably won't see him again, though. Hecate threw 2 mini bosses at me. That was rude. Not as rude as stealing the entire turkey at Thanksgiving, then blaming it on your sister, and everyone believes you now. But you can't steal the turkey anymore, because she's no longer invited and you have no one else to blame. Those jerks almost killed me, by the way. I'll give you 2 guesses as to what Hecate became. Spoiler, it's a frog. Hecate, much like your mother, is a bitch. I'm kidding. I love your mom. She, that's right, Hecate is a she, I think, likes to jump everywhere, making it near impossible to hit her. Plus, she can spit her tongue. Earth flies, bomb me, and all the while, frogs are wandering in from the forest. I don't even know where they really come from. Dying here for the first time was all but expected. Still painful, but expected. The worst part about these bosses is I have to go through the entire gauntlet again, just to get a chance at fighting them a second time, which means I could lose health on the way to the boss, again, which sucks for obvious reasons. Completely out of note, but a couple people commented on how I sounded tired in my last video. I was. Also, I do read the comments, I just normally don't know what to say to them. Back to Hecate now, what a dumb name. I thought I had a grasp on what to do now. Turns out, the only thing grasping was a grasp firm on my soul. It made me die, but not by Hecate's hands. No, by the 2 mini bosses, Osama bin Froggins, if you will. On my 3rd attempt, I came equipped with less max HP, but 1 diseased heart and 1 blue heart. Don't worry, it wasn't from an upgrade, it was from a trade-off. 3rd time's the charm, or so they say when they're so desperate for things to work if the first 2 times didn't, and boy am I desperate. The 2 mini-boss frogs suck. 1 would be easy, but 2 means that I can dodge so comically perfect as to dodge out of one's path and into the others. I killed them both, I hope they rot. Too bad Hecate's back, and now I'm gone! I hope I was able to do all that in 1 cut. 4th attempt now. If I don't succeed here, I'm going to take that funny pill that guy sold me. Despite all my health, I was still convinced I'd fail, but I'd still need to give it my all, elsewise that cyanide pill shall be consumed. Hecate's tongue spit fire at me, proving that our tongues have mouths too. Tweedledee and Tweedlefrock-ass came out to play. They're dead. Hecate's not. He started spitting all his tongues at me. I didn't know he had more than 1. She's dead. Yes, she's a she. Despite me calling her a he, I forgot. I beat Anura. Let me tell you now, I hate what comes next. The Anchor Deep was a deep pain in my ass. You'll soon see why. I unlocked the weapon. It was through story progression, not an upgrade. The hammer. It takes a second to swing, but it does big damage. You're locked in place while you swing, and you can change your direction of your swing, but you have to do so either with your keyboard and pressing W, A, S, or D, or you have to let go of all keys and use your mouse. You might think that that would be easy. It's not. I like being able to move as soon as the game allows me, but that requires holding down a key, which makes aiming significantly harder. Calamar appeared. He's the coward of the old gods, and he made one of you sick. On my first attempt at the first boss, I walked in with one heart. He's a giant spike ball who spawns other spike balls that are smaller. I hate balls. Unsurprisingly, I died, and I should have known then and there, by that time, I'd crave death. I found a new enemy in the form of these big summoners. They spawn endless enemies, mostly cultists, and shoot fireballs at me. Attempt 2 of Boss 1. In a game where you're constantly dodging to avoid damage, not being able to move, even for a brief moment, can be detrimental, as proven by the hammer. I surprisingly defeated the boss, despite my low health. Calamar ensickened more people. I gave a spooky looking tree some gold. He gave me resources, so I stole the rest of his gold. This boss looks like a scrotum with spikes. He shoots balls, summons explosive fish, and can do a ring of fire of death ball thing. My dodge is what killed me, which is ironic. Back at it again, this time with a sword, making me fast and dangerous with my attacks. I finally killed the blue balls. This healer big guy combo is a real doozy. The trick is to kill the healer first, then the big guy, though his attacks are weird and I swear they shouldn't have hit me 90% of the time. Met someone fishy. I died to non-boss enemies for the first time. That was embarrassing. I think this is a deer jellyfish? I'm not sure. He spits a lot of fireballs. The hardest part of his fight was making sure not to step too close when he was about to fire, as it would make it hard to dodge his attacks. With a sufficient amount of time and patience, I managed to kill him. Calamar told me not to kill him, got my first taste of spiders. Let me explain my path choices to you. When in a dungeon, I tried to go with as little fighting areas as possible, but now, there isn't an option. I have to go through at least 3 fighting arenas before fighting a boss. It's just swell. Not that it matters, as I died to yet another non-boss enemy. On my first attempt on Calamar's life, I only had a sliver of health to get me through the fight. Calamar is the worst. He needs friends. Then maybe he wouldn't be so aggressive. I made a joke about him having an unfair amount of weapons, but his real weapons were the automatic shotgun he'd fire at me and the little jumping things that would hurt me if they landed near me. It was a miracle I made it as far as I did with literally no health. I was once again slain by a non-boss foe. At this point, I was feeling more discouraged than ever. Let's not talk about my next attempt. Back at it again with Calamar. Don't worry, this fight didn't last long. Not as long as the mental and emotional pain this fight left me with. Calamar decided to use cheats to try to kill me, and it worked. I think it's attempt number 3, I can't tell. I used my many tentacles on the squid. The little red jumpers proved more annoying than anything else. This boss would be like 10 times easier without them. We both know what happened. Back once again, keep in mind that every attempt is after going through 3 separate arenas where I'm more than likely to lose my health. I'm running out of ways to express how much I hate Calamar at this point. I really don't want to talk about it. Squid Game. I can't express to you the pain I feel, not only from playing this, but from editing and scripting it, and I thought heck it was bad. I got a real bad cut. That one's gonna need stitches. This next attempt, I was confident. I had full health and 3 extra hearts. Even if I couldn't kill him with skill, I could at least tank a few hits. The battle was long and tough, just like a nice strip of beef jerky. There were moments where I wasn't sure I'd make it, where I wanted to send one last goodbye to my family before I hanged myself because of this stupid boss. But alas, as all good things must come to an end, so too shall my suffering. I beat Calamar with only half a heart left. Here's my genuine reaction to beating him. Oh god, that took way too long. Enough celebrating, because my hat spoke to me and told me to sin. So I made a bunch of followers dance naked, and I picked my favorite. Then I extracted a worm from him, found myself in the silk cradle, and found myself a blunderbuss. The blunderbuss is a fun weapon, but not the most efficient. You have to get really close to do most damage, but you have to be really far away to inflict a little damage. Shimura spoke nonsense to me, he's a spider by the way, hence the name Silk Cradle and the bug-like enemies. He made one of my followers fight me. I gunned them down. I accidentally picked up a relic or whatever. I never used it though, so it's a non-issue. The first boss was basically a giant blue spider, meaning he could charge me, and I think he laid eggs as well. He would also whip himself away like a red spider, and spit fire like every other boss in this game. Suffice to say, he wasn't easy, but he wasn't as impossible as previous bosses. That being said, I did die to him the first time. Don't be fooled by my talk though, I also did die the second time, so I guess he can't be that easy. But the third time is where my true strength shone through. I killed him, and thought to myself, will all the future bosses be this hard? Now, to maintain total transparency, this whole time I was playing on medium, but I need to get this video done soon, so I lowered the difficulty to easy. I noticed I was having more fun when I switched the game difficulty. Spider-Man spoke to me. He sent a few enemies after me. I can't describe this next boss fight. It was all chaotic and crazy, and I couldn't even see myself most of the time. All I really know is I was alive when the screaming stopped, just like any house party ever. Tent Man appeared. I thought he was only in my dreams. Mr. Parker was here again, this time to sick more of my own against me. I fucking murdered them. A big old scorpion boy appeared after that. Fun fact, I can't spell scorpion. He shoots balls at me, like most bosses. Only some of these balls are acid balls. He also charges me with his big meaty claws. His fight was tedious, but ultimately he died. I died to a non-boss, but it's not my fault. In my attempts to avoid as much fighting as possible, I gave the enemies double health. Don't ask how. Finally, I got to face Peter. I'm not gonna lie, this boss was very disappointing. He basically just did everything the lower enemies did. I feel like they could have done more with him, maybe have him web me. But he did crap bombs, so that's pretty cool. Long story short, he's dead now. Rest in peace, the only good reason to watch Marvel movies. Finally, it's time to meet the one who waits. Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome himself. He looked shorter than I remember, and brighter. That's lame. He basically told me to kill myself. That's a red flag. So I'm gonna kill him now. White Boy is basically one of those night dudes, so he's pretty easy. Look at that, he's already dead. The one in the black robe, not gonna use a similar name as the last guy, was a little tougher, as he had the power of knowing that I'm going to kill him too. He fell beneath my feet. Now, Mr. Handsome has to get his hands dirty, and yes, I'm calling him that. The one who waits is a mouthful, and I can't remember his actual name. The Johnny Cashes were hard to avoid at first. Then he did the Wheel of Fire, and that killed me. Every attempt, I have to fight his brats, by the way. The second time around, this idiot got sucked into the ground. He decided to become emo. His eyeballs hurt me now. He started to launch more rings of fire, which is just plain rude. I think he should say sorry. His third eye opened my skull with fire. Third time is really the charm now, even if I have to do this fight from the very beginning. Back in hell, or I assume it's hell, I put more focus on DPS than raw damage output, as well as focusing on staying alive, even when it hurts. I finally killed his last eye, and before he could lay in one more attack, I killed him, and I did not beat Cult of the Lamb without any upgrades. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing. If you didn't like it, please tell me why so I can do better next time. Feel free to give me any challenge and game suggestions. Thank you all, and have a wonderful day.